Woodworking and DIY TikToks have continued to pile up hundreds of millions of views, and you guys have been sending me them non-stop to try out. So we've picked 7 of them, and I'm gonna give them all a try today. Let's go. Coming in hot with 77 million views, we've got a little bit of a DIY hack, Joe says here. He sent this one over. I love seeing a good old-fashioned, what looks like a Russian account. We got a paintbrush, we got a bottle. This is, oh boy, oh man, I know where this is going. There's no chance this works. I would bet a lot that this is an absolute crux. We're gonna try it. I've got a paintbrush that should work, and then I've got a water bottle with this special spout on it that should also work.
That's what I call high quality tool.
What I'm gonna need to do is get the calipers out and take a measurement of this. The beautiful .477. So ½ inch should work. Let me grab a bit. What I love about the video is that they're using a stepper bit, which is for metal, to drill their hole. I think I'm just gonna kind of send it. Make sure if you try this, you are the absolute dullest bit possible. Oh no, it's blowing out the side. I'm gonna take a smaller bit. We gotta make sure we get down into the bristles there so the paint can saturate them. That's great. So if I know anything, which I don't, I literally know nothing. It's hard to see, but the top of all these are like painted together. So I'm gonna have to drive this down into that, I think. All right, so we pulled out some bristles, which means that we're in there. Oh boy, there's some sketchy Russian shit. So I noticed walking over to the compressor, see all these bristles are falling out? That's where the paint's gonna come through because I just eliminated how they're held inside together. This is ridiculous. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm feeling a little bit more like it might work because now it has this like massive chute. See if I peel it open, like where'd that come from? I'm gonna cover this best I can, hoping it doesn't go everywhere. You don't wanna stay. Make sure you use your very expensive, nice hand tool woodworking device to do this kind of work too. Next mega janky thing on the agenda is our water bottle. We don't need a ton, so I'm just gonna, beautiful. It literally broke out, immediately broke out. Okay, I'm gonna get the thicker CA glue. Maybe if I kind of scuff it, a little bit of a rougher surface to grab to. We're going for, you know, perfection and art here. I'm gonna try a gel CA glue, which is a little bit thicker and should hold up on the edges a little bit more. Oh, she's a beaut, Clark, huh?
It's a beaut, Clark.
This is some of my finest work. Guess that's as good as we're gonna get. Now all that's left to do is fill this old girl up with some paint. So in order to not ruin my woodworking bench, we're gonna come over here to the metalworking vise, because ruin that. This was some nice leftover from the pendulum swing ping pong table. I think we made that about a year ago. That thing's seen 0 lives. RIP ping pong. Me. Okay, let's make a mess. It's either it's just not gonna go into the brush, or it's gonna go into the brush and just dump right onto the floor. Obviously we gotta fill her up high. Can't go like a sissy fill up. Let's go see how difficult it is to get this paint to come out the bristles. Not looking good. So this is our new paint booth. Sorry about the noise. And I'm just kind of sitting here. Nothing is coming out. I mean, we know there's a hole in there because I pulled a chunk of wood out of it and a bunch of bristles. Ooh, ooh. So I stuck my finger in there. Haha. Maybe I just gotta keep shaking it, shaking it. Wait, what's going on there? It's coming out the housing. If this thing snaps off and falls, I'm gonna be so sad. There's no way I'm getting it back on if it does. Look, 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 look. It's in the bristles. All right, you crazy Russian bastards. 1 more hour of me just doing this, we might get this sucker working.
3 hours later.
Can you move it along?
This is fun. Nope, still not enough. Come on. I have no other idea on how to get it to come down. You'll never be able to use this again because the entire thing is flooded with paint. Oh, this is stupid. All right, maybe try this. Hey. You wanna come party? Come on. Okay, we've got one brush. How the F do they expect you to hold this thing? But there's nothing quite like having bristles in your paint job too. How in any way is this better than just dipping it in a can? Why do you exist? Guys, there's no way I'm getting to the other things we're doing today if I have to sit here and putz with this. So this one, complete and utter hack, fail, stupid, I hate you, go back to Russia. First up, this one only has 675,000 views on this reel alone, but Cam from Blacktail Studios sent it over to me and said that I had to build it. So he obviously obviously knows what he's doing when it comes to making videos. So I'm gonna give it a shot. Let's check it out. And out the gate, this thing is absolutely absurd. So we got a dude who made a hand plane with a palm router and a surfacing bit, it looks like. What's insane about this is that that surfacing bit has to be a 1/4 inch collet because I have this router, and then he shows how to build it. Oh, rad. All right, this is rare. Usually we don't get a reel that has the like how-to parts of it. This should be fun. Let's get to it. So I have the same router as homie in the video. I'm gonna tell you this straight up. I already took the plate off the bottom. These routers are not made to use surfacing bits. This is a shank.
I'll shank you, fool.
And this was the largest bit I could find. That's 1.25 inches, I think. That dude looks like he has at least 1.5 to 2 inch bit. Yeah, that's 1.5 inches of cutter head, which is equivalent to the same width as this little block plane that I have. I couldn't find anything bigger that was 1/4 inch shank, I don't know, but I could still make this work with this. It's just gonna be petite. It's gonna make a little cut. But that really pisses me off, just in case you guys were curious. I was like kind of excited about this one. I'm gonna cut up some wood, build a base that fits our router base here. I'm gonna chop up some wood and get it planed down. So we got 2 sides and our base here. We'll work on the sides after. So you can see there where center is. Our guy, he took basically something like this and kind of just hammered it down, which is also smart. He then used more or less like a hammer and something to reach over the hammer with. I'll use this shitty chisel, kind of mark where screw holes are for his router, because this is how we're gonna mount this sucker to the base. I've never done anything like this. Now, I get the pleasure of trying to get these little 1/2 inch screws to come into here. Yay. First, we're gonna take a 1.5 inch Forstner bit though, cut the center out, and then I've got a plan for the screws. We gotta get another little hole that I can countersink this screw head in with from the bottom. See how stupid or good I actually am? Bang, bang, bang. Now, the most important part, will this crazy little bit go down and clear the hole. On to the next part. Let's shape some sides. I'm gonna double side tape these two together. Touch these up on our old girl here. Oh, it's not the best. It'll work. My demise is I want to make these TikTok things nice, and they end up just biting me. We're getting places. Now we need this part and that part. Let's make a handle. He used the threaded insert to attach these, so I'm gonna drill that before I do any more shaping. I'm gonna eyeball it because I'm an idiot. Now we get to shape this thing. Very shitty rudimentary handle. Now let's go turn something, I guess. I do not turn often. When I do, grab your jocks. I don't know what I'm doing. Keep turning. Somehow I made it smaller still. Turning is hard and I don't like it at all. I'd like it more if I knew how to keep sharp tools, but I don't. I think I hate everything about it. I need a bigger chunk of walnut. It's 5 o'clock. I hate everything. Round 1 sucked. I hate turning. I don't hate turning, I just suck at it.
You suck!
For some reason, I'm always in a hurry. So I'm gonna make it bigger out of Claro walnut, because that's all I got in big chunks. Waste my good wood on the TikToks. Hopefully you guys love it. We're looking decent. I'm gonna see if I can throw this in the chuck and just turn that top. I don't think I've ever done this. Let's see if I can bring this home or f it all up. Kind of like a boob. Real good, like turners, they can take it straight off the tool and finish it. They don't really need to do this part. But we are shitty amateurs, replicating TikToks. But I'll say this is the best damn handle I've ever turned. All right, all the parts are cut. It is time for assembly. So in the video, our guy, he does a lot of like knockdown stuff on his, like more or less so he can take it apart. That's cool, but I'm actually just gonna nail mine together. I wanna break some edges, do a little sanding, I'll wax the bottom, and then it's time to test. Oh, I hate it so much. All right, I'm gonna grab a rough piece of wood, and we're gonna see if this thing explodes. I just love how big this is and how small that little cutter is. We're ready to rock and roll. Chop shades on, ears, grab a battery. It's so weird. Here goes nothing. Oh, it's working! Kind of. It's so different. It's kind of scary because it wants to scoot all over the place. Like, I don't like that at all. There's just a little bit of light here. It's not perfect, but like, man, that's close. I think to make it a little bit better, I'm gonna put a mark on it to let me know like where the head is on the router bit. Then I can gauge kind of where I'm running it, right? So it looks like it's right on where my knob is. Give it another shot and then we'll see if we can do an edge joint. So I can like line this up and know it's gonna cut this part. It wants to run at the end, but see where it cut? It's definitely interesting. That's where I'm like really blown away with that guy having that big old bit on there, especially using this little palm router. Like we blew the battery on this sucker already. And by blew it, I mean just needs a new battery. With the marks on there, that's better than I could do with a hand plane. That's crazy.
Wow, crazy.
Let's do an edge. Problem with this is it's not big enough. I can do the same thing. I can just see where my part is here. He put a guide on his. Yeah, so I mean, I'm kind of blown away. The bigger cutter head would probably work a little bit better. Maybe some more guides and stuff on it, but I'm gonna say it's approved. This thing was awesome. Let's do another one. Up next with 5.4 million views, we've got a little bit of a more DIY-y type project here. Yeah, it looks like two melting pieces of wood getting stuck together. From the looks of it, this person did them on a CNC. I ain't got time for that. We're gonna make this by hand. Let's go. First thing is I've got two pieces of wood of contrasting colors that are milled to the exact same size. We're gonna start out with our piece of poplar, I believe, and I'm just gonna kind of just mimic what I saw on that drawing and hope I can cut this out on my bandsaw by, ooh, that's a nasty one. We'll go here. And none of this really matters because it'll all be reflective the way I'm gonna do it. And the after part, I'm gonna use my freehanding skills to make this thing look good. The more I'm looking at this now, this is probably a way better project to do on a CNC. Most people watching this aren't gonna have a CNC. So if you wanna try it by hand, like that's why we're gonna do it by hand. See if I can make this work. That took considerably longer than I anticipated, but we're getting there. I'm gonna jump over the spindle sander. You gotta have long grain on long grain, but it gets so weak in these small spots. It literally just busted this off. That obviously didn't go the way I planned it.
Really?
So I'm going to try it a different way. I gotta do bigger dips because that's where all my issues are lying, is getting those tight curves in there. I think this time, I'm gonna just do it with the jigsaw with a super thin blade. That's exactly what I was trying to avoid. Damn it! I knew I was gonna, I hate jigsaws. I guess that's why it's a workbench.
Let's do it again, only better this time.
All right, we're gonna try this again. I couldn't find anywhere that had a thin enough blade. So we actually busted out my super old bandsaw from a corner. I gave it a good clean down. We got a 1/4 inch blade here, which should let me get pretty close. This thing, she doesn't sound pretty, but she should be able to get the job done. Look at this old girl, just humming. I'm gonna have to be gentler on the sander this time. Should be a little bit better because we don't have as much material to remove as the big one because I was able to get way closer to the line. I'll just try not to break it. So we're gonna cover this piece here in blue tape, and then I'm gonna trace our pattern onto it, which should give me a better means of like seeing where my outline is. Because if you watch that video, he does a great job of editing, but there's a lot of gaps. Don't think I didn't see those. I just wanna try it. No hate, I make shit with gaps all the time. I'm just trying to be better. A little bit of CA glue on here just to hold it in place while I trace it. Should line up beautifully. So now, peel her off. The purpose here is to leave the blue. So if you don't touch the blue, you should have this crazy tight joint.
John doing arts and crafts.
Whoa, look at that.
Sam doing shop stuff.
John, that may be the drippiest joint I've ever seen you make.
Cut the other part out now. Hopefully this goes a little bit better with that other bandsaw blade. Now let's try not to break it. Oh, we're so close. That took absolutely way more time than I thought, and I go back and I remember this is why CNCs exist, to speed these things up. I ain't got time for that. Now for the moment of truth. Oh, don't you want to go home? Okay, those gaps aren't bad. A little glue and a little love, I think this is gonna look awesome. Does it look drippy? Drip, drip. Let's glue it up. Probably should subscribe if you want to watch me make more arts and crafts. All right, we can clamp that up, let it dry, and then we'll see how actually good this thing turned out. See you tomorrow. All right, this sucker is dried overnight, and I gotta be blatantly honest with you. When I flip this over, this looks like something I wasn't expecting.
Balls.
If you know what a Balchinian is, you get 2 points. All right, let's stand this sucker up, see what it looks like. What's really cool about this technique is that it's all long grain on long grain. So I could technically run this through my planer and it would probably come out pretty unscathed. I don't really need to do that. What I do need to do is I have a couple little gaps here still and I don't love those. So we're gonna use a little glue trick here and sawdust to just kind of fill those in. Yeah. Get that going, and I'll show you guys what this thing will look like here in a second, gap-free. If you don't know what I'm doing here is I took the hose off of the vacuum, so the dust is just sitting on the surface and rubbing into the crack. It's also just blowing into my lungs. Gets directly in my lungs, but you know where it doesn't get? In my eyes, because I'm rocking my shop shades and these things are so comfortable and good looking. They're also ANSI certified, Z87 Plus. Look at these suckers. Look at it. Keep my eyes protected from dust, debris, and other shenanigans going on in the shop. Grab yourself a pair. It is the best way to support the channel. These are on pre-sale still. You're gonna save a couple bucks and they are delivering hopefully by the end of March. I'm super stoked about them. We've been working really hard on them and you guys have been absolutely loving them and I love you for supporting us. This is called Mahoney's Finish Oil. It's just the quickest thing I had in arm's reach. Rub that on a little bit. I don't use this stuff very often, but it is a very traditional, I can smell some linseed oil in it, maybe some tongue. One of those old school oils. Not a hard wax though, like Rubio or anything, but I gotta say, that looks pretty good. Get the back here so it doesn't warp, so it can go on our wall of, I don't know if it's a wall of shame or just wall of weird shit we built. Hold on, don't forget this one. Yeah, the wall of weird stuff. I kind of dig it. I can see why this would get so many views. I think this is a very, very interesting take on doing like some inlays and stuff. I would 100% recommend doing it on a CNC. You're gonna waste more materials and stuff, but I ended up wasting a ton of materials. I think it looks pretty rad. That would be cool in like a decorative drawer front, or you can get really creative and do a couple of them, maybe multiple colors and whatnot. But cool stuff, I dig it. I'm gonna give it the approval stamp. Now on to the next. Up next with 2.3 million views. I love this audio clip. I think it's so awesome.
Oh, so good. How'd you do it?
We got a fireplace build here. That's awesome. I love that like black and wood. Oh, they did a secret drawer. I love secret drawers. This is an awesome build. AV Wood Design, absolutely crushing it. A little bit excessive for one of these videos, but if we get 5,000 likes on this video, I'll put a fireplace in my house and we'll do something even more ridiculously awesome with it. We need to get those likes. So hit it down below if you want to see me build a fireplace. All right, coming in next with 8.4 million views. A bunch of you tagged me in this. And at first look, I gotta say, it's awesome. Jake Makes is doing a gigantic dovetail bench. Boy, these looked like a huge pain in the butt. And I think that looks like some live edge. It looks like some Doug fir, maybe some cherry. I guess I'm gonna need to see if I got some big wood so I can cut some big dovetails. Let's go. Here I got a chunk of cherry out of my pile. Not as thick as what our dude Jake is using, but it's about as thick as I got on hand. I'm just gonna try one single joint. All right, let's square the edge and then I can start cutting things to size. It's kind of imperative when you're doing dovetails to make sure everything's square. I've got a live edge here and no square edges for reference. I'm gonna probably use the router and some templates in order to get this sucker done. But we will have the tail, and then this is called the pin or the socket. So I'm gonna cut these square first and then get the figure in whatever I need to figure for the figure of the next figure. You figure. If we want like at least a 3/4 inch reveal, we're gonna do a 1 1/4 inch dovetail. It doesn't look good. Let's go 1 1/2. And then if we're looking at an 8 inch width, I'm gonna actually go non-conventional here and go 10 degrees. So I'm gonna take a piece of something, I'm gonna cut my template. If I felt like cheating today, I'd have Chris burn this on the laser. We're gonna do it by hand, make my life absolutely miserable. Why not? So to make the template, first you gotta find center, then we're looking to cut all this out. This will be more important when we get to the socket. Let's cut all that off the same way we just did. That's pretty damn good, straight off the saw. All right, I don't got much else to do with that. Let's do the pocket. The live edge is gonna make things a little bit squirrely. Now we get the pleasure of removing that. A couple clamps on here. Now I got a nice wide workplace on the bottom. We'll start out with just going slightly below the surface and kind of go from there. We got a majority of the waste kind of hogged out here and it's looking decent. I'm actually gonna put some guides on here and use a templating bit. The router, that'll allow me to just get a nice starting point and then I can work my way down and eliminate a lot of the hand cutting. Now I just gotta bring it home with the hand chisels so you can kind of see how much easier that's gonna make my life. So I have this like nice square side that I can use as a guide and come down and get everything on those final cuts down into these corners. Clean, let's see how good your boy is. It's not as tight of a fit as I would like. We're gonna have to live with it. If my piece is out of cant at all,
Ever.
in any direction, my whole piece can become off. I just can tell by these errors that I probably had my marking gauge like off, as well as this piece was slightly off and it moved a little bit. I still think I can TLC this thing to look pretty damn good. It's kind of cool that the crack ends up flowing down on both sides. What I think I want to do is put some glue and some clamps on it and then sand it and follow up here after the next one. See what it looks like. Okay. She is dry, the joint's looking good. Kind of worked. Holding strong, what we like to see. I gotta be honest with you, it doesn't look bad. I missed a little bit here, but what I think happened, and I kind of explained this in clamping, was after I cut the pocket, we had some expansion because this is weak, so it's not gonna hold as straight and stuff. I think I can save it with sanding. Obviously the sander wants to get used, so let's use it. Bust out the big girl for this. So the gap is pretty consistent. I could use the sawdust trick. It would kind of look okay, but I think I can do one better. So I went ahead and delicately cut cherry wood like wedges. These are like really thin that I'm gonna try to fill these gaps in with. There's a knot there. It's not ideal for this. Just by like breaking these pieces off and then you'll see kind of like some magic, which is how you hide being a hack. Here's the magic. And just like that, no more gaps. I gotta say, that looks pretty damn good. Pretty damn good for a hack like me. Awesome project, James. This looks awesome. I had a lot of fun trying this one. You should give this a shot because this is a lot of fun. Can really elevate your woodwork. Awesome job. Let's get on to the next one. Up next, coming in with 18.8 million views, we've got a lady in the woods, cutting a hole and a stump. What are you doing here? What? All right, up next after this, we've got,
I forgot.
3.8 million views. And oh, these are cool. I've seen some stuff like this before. It's a coat hanger, but it's like hidden. You can't tell really what's going on and you can like push on it. Pretty cool idea. Let's make one. All right, so I'm gonna step this up a notch. Oh, kind of, you'll see. Hopefully it doesn't get too weak because I'm gonna go across the grain, but got a live edge piece of just walnut cut off here. I'm gonna clean this edge up and then I'm gonna rip a piece off, square it, and we're gonna make all of our cross cuts here. And then I'll come back and we'll put the rod in. Should be pretty rad. So this should be an easy one. I shouldn't have said that. Should not have said that. I need to give myself a couple square reference points. So I'm gonna joint this edge and then I'm gonna cut this end square. And I'm gonna cut this side to be square as well. So I more or less have 3 sides that are square. And then that should allow me to start making all those interior cuts, but we do need to make a rip here so we can have that standoff that goes along the back where the pivot point is. In the video, this goes along the back and that pivot point is fixed to every other one and they beveled the back side. So we could do that. Why the hell not? It's gonna get tricky because I don't have a square side to run that against, do I? You son bitch, you. Or son bitch. Okay, I can't do the bevel quite yet. Get yourself a janky ass crosscut sled. I got this beautiful one right here. Now hold on, I'm gonna make some marky darkies here. I am gonna set this up so that each piece is 1.25 inches. I didn't do the math right because this is 15 and that doesn't add up, I don't think. Either way though, give myself a little stop block there and I will take that. I like to just kind of do this, super simple. I'll take that, I'll put a little squeeze clampy on it. Huh, look at this, Joe. It's the cutest little squeeze clamp that's ever existed. Chris brought that. He's a very gentle soul. He brought that for us, it's so kind of him. Oh, this is important. I'll go from the back, but if you're gonna do something like this, you wanna mark the piece of wood some way that you can put them back. So that way I know that, we wanna build that triangle back when we cut. All right, so now those are all gonna line up on the wall and still look like a single piece of wood. Woo, neat. See, my dudes on the TikTok on their bullshit though, they didn't think to make it look good, they just made it. So what I'm thinking here is we've got an odd number. If I bevel the bottom of these 4, then I should cut the holes first. Whoop, getting ahead of myself. Let's touch these up and then cut a hole. Make a little jig and cut some holes. No, we're just gonna go with it. You don't need to touch them up. Because you don't want to do the work twice, you know? We're gonna be using a 1/4-inch steel dowel. So I'm gonna go a little bit heavier. This is 17/64, which is 1/64 more than a 1/4. The 9/32, I don't know where it's at. We'll go with this 19/64. Okay, so we want to do a couple things here. First off, let's find our mark where we want to cut these holes. We were looking at, they're roughly, if we did these marks at 2.5 off the bottom, we'll just do 2. Don't you guys concern yourselves with what the hell I'm talking about, because I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. If I can cut that at 2, that means with the bevel there, it'll tilt out right around there, which should be enough to clearance to get a coat on there, right? Right, Joe? I've got my mark here, and I gotta stop here. What I'm hoping I can do is just set my fence one time, and then I'll be able to cut them all beautifully. Sweet, here we go. 1, 2, 3. So I made a boo-boo. We gotta recut all those holes. Shouldn't be a problem though. I'll just plug them from the side or I won't do anything. I needed to cut the hole a little lower because it's not giving me enough clearance to actually hang something on. And Joe behind you has like 7 jackets. We need somewhere to put them. So we're gonna bring it down 1 inch and that should be a little bit better. There we go, that's a lot better. So then I need to do bevel cuts. Don't do this one at home, kids. Not perfect, but it's looking pretty good. And now we should be able to do that and get plenty of room to get a coat on there. So I think the only thing left to do is mark the edge where I want the bottom of my cross member to be, because that's gonna be important for mounting. We wanna make sure that that can clear underneath on the ones that don't get attached. Do I wanna keep little tabs on the side to mount it to the wall? I think so.
Sure.
It's your coat rack, Joe. I should probably sand all the interiors of the pieces before. Get them on there. Okie dokie. A little bit of sanding. I'm gonna do some finish. We'll get the sucker together. Everything's on. I had to finish the insides first. You'll see I'm gonna touch up the outsides here. I'm actually gonna use my bench, squeeze these together, because I want it to be a nice snug fit, not like so snug they won't move, or so loose it doesn't look like one piece. That's kind of the other fault of this, kind of me trying to get fancy with this thing, is I gotta keep it looking like one piece. Okay. There we go, baby. Gotta love putting fin. Oh, should have probably thought about, didn't break the edges, jackass. Gonna have all these freaking sharp corners. So it's such a kid-friendly environment here. This is for the TikTok. This is that DIY crafts type shit, baby. Inconspicuous, nothing to see here. Piece of wood hanging on the wall in the shop. I made the back too long.
Dude!
Because now it's just gonna go like that. It was so close. What did I miss? You're such a jackass sometimes, John. Harder than you think. No, I make it hard because I tried to make it pretty instead of just making it look like shit. Okay, in order to make this work, my back piece is just too thick. So I need it to be considerably thinner, probably almost like in this range. So I'm gonna get squirrely AF and cut this because I already have nails in it. So I'm gonna use my big old beefy saw. These carbides should nick right through the nails. Yeah, there we go. Little coat rack for you, ladies and gents. Just an inconspicuous piece of wood. We got a wall, got a screw. There you go. Hang your coat, Joe.
Purpose. Whoa, look at that. But 1 coat rack. Whoa, look at that. 4 coats, 1 rack.
No, I shouldn't be finding your coats laying around. High five. This one was actually pretty fun. I think it's like a very cool beginner project. If you want to give it a shot, let me know how it goes. And with that, it's going to be a wrap on this one. That one turned out pretty cool. I dig it. If you guys have any more awesome ideas for things you'd like me to try, send them over because I will try them. And then let me know what we're going to build next.